Red Dead Online, the online portion of a massively successful blockbuster story game, Red Dead Redemption 2, with the developers being Rockstar Games, once again a massively successful company, the creators of one of the most best-selling games of all time, Grand Theft Auto 5, and not to mention the fact that Red Dead Redemption 2 also became one of the top 20 best-selling games of all time. I believe it's about the 13th best-selling game at the moment, so clearly they know what they're doing, or do they? And in this video, we're going to be questioning that, since we're going to be talking about the state of Red Dead Online in 2023. A very common thing to talk about at the moment with, well, the game being what many would consider a complete mess. We'll be talking about the current state of the game, what it's like to play Red Dead Online in 2023, what we might see in the future for Red Dead Online, and why many consider it to be, well, a failure. Let's waste no more time and let's get into the state of Red Dead Online in 2023. So to start things off, let's go back to 2018. We had the launch of Red Dead Redemption 2, an outstanding story game with loads and loads of praise. There were so many details, a massive open world, outstanding graphics for 2018, with it running well on the older consoles. We then obviously get the online portion of the game released about a month after the release of the story mode of Red Dead Redemption 2, and many considered this at the time to be the next GTA Online, the game to overtake GTA Online, the next one to be the best open world online game that you could play, since at the time GTA Online was, well, the only one of its type really. It's rare that you get something like GTA Online. Of course, other developers have tried, but also other developers have failed. Nothing really ever was like GTA Online. As well, Red Dead Online seemed like the next thing to be like GTA Online, being able to overtake its throne. And, well, at the start it didn't. It was seen as something with lots and lots of potential. Rockstar promised support for an ever-evolving world. Updates did come along, to be fair, but they were very slow. These updates also weren't that good. They did add a few improvements, quite a few quality of life improvements to be fair, with an improved hostility system. They added new showdown modes and new showdown maps, and of course they continued the weekly updates like they did with GTA Online, discounting certain items and obviously giving bonuses for certain modes. But at the time in Red Dead Online, well, there wasn't really much to give bonuses for. At the time, all you could really do was play stranger missions, a couple story missions, and then also go into the showdown modes, and then there was daily challenges later implemented as well. But there really wasn't much to discount either, just, you know, food and general items that players could buy, just general consumable items. That was about it, really. There wasn't much to be able to do in the game, and it took a long time for there to actually be something to do. Later on, a couple months after the release of the beta for Red Dead Online, they did actually release a couple more story missions, but that story remained unfinished for quite a while, and we'll get on to how that has gone down. But then it took until September of 2019 for what many would consider the very first major update for Red Dead Online, and this was a great update. This was the Red Dead Online Frontier Pursuits update. This was great. It added quite a lot of content. The content it did add was the trader role being implemented, along with the bounty hunter role, many players' favorite role, and then it also added the collector role. Now, roles in Red Dead Online are basically the main source of content, the main idea for content within the game. You go ahead and you purchase this role, and then you go through all of the content, leveling up through the role, getting it to the maximum level, unlocking items and new missions throughout leveling it up, and you do that for each of those three roles at the time, those being the collector, trader, and the bounty hunter, each of them involving different styles of content. Trader was more of a business where you collected materials by hunting, you then donated those materials to your camp, which is where the trader role was based, and then of course once you had the maximum amount of supplies, you would then do a delivery and earn yourself some cash. Then for the collector role, this was a more relaxed role where you went around the map, found collectibles, and then you then collected the full set, and then of course you sold that set to Madame Nazar, which was the main character for the collector role. Then the bounty hunter role was all about combat, and of course the combat throughout all of Red Dead Redemption 2, including Red Dead Online, was very, very strong. The interactions were great, the weapons that you could use were also great, and it works very well. So there was really nothing that could go wrong with the bounty hunter role, and nothing did go wrong. For 10 weeks after the release of the Frontier Pursuits update, they released a classic bit of Rockstar content, which is drip-fed content. For 10 weeks after the bounty hunter role released, there was 10 different legendary bounties, which were pretty cool and pretty cool weekly updates to keep players coming back for more. This wasn't too much drip-fed content either. They didn't actually hold back loads. They actually released all three roles on the release, which is pretty uncommon for Rockstar, to be honest. They like to be able to save their content for about a year after the release of the update. But yeah, it was nice nice to see a decent update for Red Dead Online, but this did take almost a year to release. The game released in November of 2018, and this update released in September of 2019, so almost a year that players did have to wait for any sort of significant content. But yeah, this was a decent update. There's not really much to complain about. It added a few bugs, which were somewhat later fixed, but I'll get into that later. But overall, this was a decent update. It had a decent amount of content, but of course, the major concern really was that players waited way too long to be able to play this. It just took too long, but people really didn't think much of it at the time. They enjoyed that update, and then, well, they moved on and waited for the next one. And the next one did arrive pretty soon after that. 3 months later, we got the Moonshiner update. This was by no means as big as the Frontier Pursuits update, but this did add another role, and this was a more significant role, probably a role with more content. This was the Moonshiner role, and this actually added the first in-game property. Unfortunately, you couldn't customize the outside of this, but you could somewhat customize the inside, but it didn't really work like some of the properties in GTA Online with apartments and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it was a property and it did work. You were able to enter this property and you were able to complete 6 story missions and then run your own moonshine business, which was similar to the trader role but more passive. You purchased the supplies, you would then wait an hour for those to produce, and then you would sell them, earning about $220 every time. Not a bad role, and the 6 story missions that could be replayed at a higher difficulty was a really nice touch, and of course the property was also nice. It came in at a pretty high cost of 25 gold bars, but either way, it was a pretty solid update and it worked pretty well. So there wasn't really much to complain about when it came to the content, but there definitely was something to complain about, and that was the bugs that arrived with this update. This update completely broke the game, and this was in December of 2019. And we all know what happened at the beginning of 2020. About 3 months into 2020, the world got hit by a pandemic. And from December of 2019 to July of 2020, we got absolutely no communication from Rockstar about when the next Red Dead Online update would arrive. Of course, there was a pandemic, so I suppose from that perspective it is reasonable, but you'd think there'd be some sort of communication saying, sorry that this update is delayed, sorry we can't really produce much content at the moment. They were still releasing the weekly bonuses and discounts for the game, but there was no communication. They just say what those discounts and bonuses were in some classic Rockstar writing, and then that would be it. And it took until the end of July for us to get the next Red Dead Online update, and this was the Naturalist update. And well, this was just not enough for waiting 8 months for the next update with no communication. The update wasn't bad. I'm not saying that it was a bad update, and many wouldn't consider it to be bad. Some didn't really like the idea of the content. It was pretty simple content. You just went around and you would sedate animals. You wouldn't actually hunt them down, and then you would just get the sample. You collect a full set of samples and then sell them to Harriet, the main character for this role. It did actually add a trapper, which was pretty cool as well, but it's not enough. For waiting 8 months, it's just not good enough, which was disappointing. But there was quite a bit of content there. I'm not saying it was a bad update, but yeah, for 8 months of waiting, it wasn't good enough, and overall it was probably the worst update that the game had seen yet in terms of the 3 major updates from then, which was Frontier Pursuits, Moonshiner, and then Naturalist, which yeah, probably was the worst out of those 3. And it took then until December to get the next update, which isn't too long of a wait, but it's a long wait considering what the update was, and this was definitely the worst Red Dead Online update of all time. This was the Bounty Hunter expansion. So the Bounty Hunter expansion added a 100 tier Outlaw Pass, which is great. That was cool. That was the biggest one yet. And then it added 10 extra ranks to the Bounty Hunter role and nerfed daily challenges. That was it. That was all that was added with this expansion to the game. It was just a basic update that people had to wait a long time for, and yeah, it just added 10 extra ranks to the Bounty Hunter role and added an Outlaw Pass, and to be honest, you can complete all of this in a day, particularly the Bounty Hunter expansion. You could get through those 10 extra ranks of the role in literally a couple of hours. It wouldn't take long at all. Now, Rockstar did add 3 new legendary bounties with this, and this was great, but this was a cool update. It worked, but it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough content, and the worst part of it was that they nerfed the daily challenges, the most efficient way for making gold within Red Dead Online. One thing that actually kept players going to the game every single day, since basically within Red Dead Online there was a daily challenge streak. If you went onto the game every single day and completed at least 1 daily challenge, you would continue to receive a high payout of gold every single day for each daily challenge, and if you missed a day, then it would reset and you'd have to build up that streak again. And people were pretty cool building up, you know, year-long streaks streaks and stuff like that, which was really cool, a cool reason to be able to go on the game every single day. And I find it odd that Rockstar nerfed this. They completely removed that streak system, making it that after every 28 days, the streak would just reset. And they also completely halved every single payout. With no streak, you used to earn 0.2 gold per day challenge, and that went to 0.1. Then with a maximum streak, you used to earn 0.5 gold, and that went to 0.25 for just 1 week, and then it would reset back to 0.1. I really don't get why they did this. I just think that it didn't benefit them in any way, since it stopped people from playing the game. There was no easy way to earn gold anymore, but then again, there was nothing to buy with the gold, since they never actually added many significant items to the game other than the role unlocks that you got, which were the items you unlocked throughout the role, which you didn't really need gold to purchase half the time. And then we waited once again until July with no communication for the next Red Dead Online update. We are seeing a bit of a pattern here, and that was the blood money update. Now, many considered this to be a heist update for Red Dead Online. Personally, I didn't think it would be. To be fair, they never said it would be a heist update. They did say robberies, but then again, it was still disappointing. I was still a bit disappointed. I thought it was an alright update, but to wait that long with no communication just wasn't good enough. It was a decent update, but yeah, waiting that long for a very mediocre update really isn't great. And well, that's actually where things stop. That was the final update for Red Dead Online, all the way back in July of 2021, and we're nearly into July of 2023. We've nearly gone 2 whole years without a major update for Red Dead Online, whilst GTA Online, a almost 10-year-old game, is still getting major updates twice a year. Now, albeit they are getting smaller, but it's still getting updates. The last update that Red Dead Online had that was a major update was the Blood Money update, and the last time that players were happy with a Red Dead Online update was probably in December of 2019 with the Moonshiner update, and even then, that was a pretty controversial update with the bugs it added. So to be honest, you could go right back to September of 2019, which was probably the last time that most players were happy with a Red Dead Online update, which was a good update. That was Frontier Pursuits, but we needed more of those. We needed more of those consistently to be able to be happy with the content there. When the game launched, there just wasn't enough content at release. I do think that Red Dead Online launched too soon. When the beta did arrive, there wasn't enough there, and that for some players was enough. They thought there wasn't enough content there, and they never played the game again. So maybe that's a reason it never made enough money compared to GTA Online. Of course, it's never really going to make as much money as GTA Online. You can't really consider that as something to compare it to. Of course, they are by the same developers, but GTA Online is massive, and Red Dead Online was massive. It still has quite a big player base, which we'll get into soon, but it's just disappointing that Rockstar never really committed to it at any point. They just never really put the resources towards it, since of course GTA Online was the main money maker. That's where all their resources went, and of course this isn't really Rockstar's fault. You can't put this on Rockstar. The people you need to put this on is Take-Two Interactive. Basically, Rockstar's boss, their parents' company, are the reason that Red Dead Online didn't get support. At least that's what I believe anyway, since of course they decide who works on what resources go where, and what money goes where. And of course, from Take-Two's perspective, they see GTA Online this week's, double the money that Red Dead Online makes, possibly more. So obviously, all of their resources they want to put towards that game. They want to ditch Red Dead Online. It's not making enough money. They're not happy with it. It's not worth it. So they're going to go towards GTA Online and put all their resources towards that. So from a business point of view, it makes sense. But from, a game development point of view, it's just horrible to ditch all of those fans just for GTA Online. A 10-year-old game at this point is very disappointing to see. So yeah, since July of 2021, support for Red Dead Online really has slowed down. All we've really got since then is a couple Telegram missions, which are just glorified stranger missions, to be honest. They work the exact same way. They take about 5 minutes to complete, and they are nothing special. The main real significant point of support for the game slowing down was when the weekly bonuses and discounts changed to monthly bonuses and discounts. This would have been fine if it also happened for GTA Online, but it didn't. GTA Online still gets the classic weekly discounts or bonuses, whilst for Red Dead Online, they're monthly. For a whole month, you're waiting for something new, and even then it's not new. It's the same discounts that we had, 2 months ago that just get repeated over and over again. It's really disappointing to see. And now, let's look at Red Dead Online in 2023. What is it like when there hasn't been an update for the game for, well, 2 years? And, well, there is content there. If you're a beginner playing Red Dead Online, you've never played the game before, let's say you're watching this video to consider whether you should play it in 2023 for the first time. The answer to that is yes, you definitely definitely should play Red Dead Online if you haven't already. There is a great game there. There is some good content there already, and there is hundreds of hours of content there, maybe about 200 to 300 hours of content before you do start to get bored. If you like the story, then you will likely online. It is very, very good with the content that's there, but for the veteran players that have been there since day one, it's disappointing. There's nothing left to do, and once you do play through all the content, you're going to be bored, since, well, it doesn't seem like there's anything new coming. And if I was to answer the question of, will we ever get a new Red Dead Online update? Will we ever get a next generation version of the game? I don't know. A next generation version, maybe. Maybe that will happen one day. Maybe in 2024, we might see a next gen update for Red Dead Redemption 2 and Red Dead Online, where we get 60 frames per second on the Xbox and PlayStation 5 consoles. Maybe that will happen, but I don't know whether that will happen. I think they should. I think it makes sense. They can make this a full price. They can make it £50 or $60 to be able to pay for this Red Dead Redemption 2 next gen update, and people would buy it. I would buy it. I would happily pay that amount. You shouldn't really have to pay that amount, but I would, and many others would. So, you know, there's definitely money that could be made there. I don't really see the point in not doing it, since they're just losing out on money. But it's disappointing that there's been nothing like that so far. It's taken them a very long time to make that, if they were planning on doing so, and that's just my opinion on it anyway. And if they were planning on doing something like that, maybe they would have continued to support the game with frequent updates. But at the end of the day, it never got frequent updates it should have had, but Red Dead Online was just wasted potential. But in 2023, there is still an active player base. There's over 20 to 40,000 people playing the game every single day on Steam. And that's just using Steam. There's people playing it on the Epic Games launcher, through the Rockstar Games launcher, on PlayStation, and of course over on Xbox. There's loads of different ways that you can play Red Dead Redemption 2 and Red Dead Online, so just using the Steam database isn't very fair, since there's so many other platforms, and probably more people playing it over on PlayStation than Xbox than there are over on Steam. And there's also going to be people that play it on the Rockstar Games launcher and the Epic Games launcher as well. Something really worth noting there. There is still a very high player base. People still play this game quite a bit, but that player base is only going to get smaller if there are no major updates in the future for Red Dead Online. It's just so much wasted potential. The only real hope now is the Red Dead Online roleplay. That's pretty much the only way that you can experience what Red Dead Online was meant to be. Things like the Dakota Riverbender, very popular Red Dead Online roleplay servers that have loads of content that you could get stuck into. The only downside is that, of course, this is only available on PC. They can't make this available on consoles, of course, which is very disappointing. But of course, yeah, that's just not possible. So it's really sad that only people on PC get to experience what Red Dead Online could be. There's just so much wasted potential. And that really is the definition for Red Dead Online in 2023, wasted potential. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the state of Red Dead Online 2023. We went through its launch in 2018, all the way to its final update in July of 2021, to what it's like to play the game within 2023. There's still players there, you could still have a good time, and it's definitely still worth playing. But of course, once you have finished all the content and you've got nothing else to play, then there really is no incentive to play Red Dead Online in 2023, since there's nothing to work towards. There's no new update to grind for. There's just nothing to be excited about. But there we go, that does just about wrap up this video. I love Red Dead Online. I've put over 1,000 hours into Red Dead Online myself over on PlayStation. I love the game, I think it's great, but it's just disappointing that, you know, these days I just get so bored playing the game, since I've just done everything that there is to be able to play in the game, and I just, you know, I need more content to play, but it doesn't look like Rockstar are going to provide that for the players that need it. But there we go, that does just about wrap up things here. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any content just like this. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.